Rest of the week's top stories with my all-star panel. Joining me now is opinion editor at the New York Post, Kelly Jane Torrance, and White House correspondent at the Daily Caller, Diana Glebova. First, let's talk about what trumped the first GOP debate, and that was Donald Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson, which has so far racked up more than 200 million views. Kelly, tell me, do you think this was a good move for the former president, not showing up to the debate and going straight to the people on Twitter, or as we now call it, X?
Well, James, I got to do a little fact check of you right there. I hate to do it, but that 200 million, that more than 200 million views, that is if someone even just read the tweet saying, there's going to be this interview. So we don't know how many of those people actually watched any of it, let alone all of it. So I just have to slip that in there. We're talking a little bit of apples to oranges when we're comparing the debate numbers, which were actually surprisingly good. But yeah, Donald Trump, of course, has to go straight to the people. He doesn't want a moderator to tell him what he has to say and give him a time limit for his answers. I think that in some ways it was a smart move. He's the front runner. Would going on the debate with the other people have helped him at all? Increase his front runner status? I doubt it. So, he's kind of going rogue and showing, hey, I'm an event all on my own, which certainly we've seen since 2015. And he stepped down that staircase at Trump Tower.
And Diana, what did you make of the interview? I watched it. I thought there were some interesting bits, but I didn't know that there were many surprises in it, really, per se. What did you make of it, Diana?
I don't think it was surprising either. Something that he did stress that you touched upon is that he wants to be different. He wants to show that he's not even on the same debate stage as the other candidates. He's not even on the same level. He's just above. And he really stressed his poll numbers in the beginning of the interview as well, saying that he's just a magnitude beyond the other candidates, even second place, Ron DeSantis, that usually polls at second place. And he just, again, he just really stressed that he's beyond the debate stage, that he can do his own thing. And I think it did provide the other candidates, especially Vivek Ramaswamy, who really surged in the Google searches right after the debate, an opportunity to show themselves without Trump being there. There was a lot of fireworks with Vivek, with Nikki Haley, with Mike Pence, Chris Christie. I think because Trump was not there, and they had that opportunity. So it was a very interesting debate on the RNC side as well.
Yeah, and I want to get to that debate because it was pretty interesting. It was pretty fiery. The crowd was really fired up, too. Let's have a little listen to this clash here between Vivek Ramaswamy and Chris Christie.
I'm the only person on the stage who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a hoax. The climate change agenda is a hoax.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here.
Now, Diana, it seemed to me like both Chris Christie and Vivek Ramaswamy had other agendas in mind. One man was trying to stop Trump, that's Christie. The other was seeming to try to clear the way for him. What did you make of that clash, and did you find there was a clear winner in the debate?
I think if you look at that exchange and the other tense exchanges on the debate stage, again, there were fireworks. People were coming in with personal attacks, and not all the candidates were doing that. As you can see in that clip, Vivek was very confident in all of his exchanges and all of his speeches. He was very confident in raising his hand when the moderators posed the question, who raise your hand if you would still support Donald Trump if he was indicted. Vivek was the first one. He raised his hand straight up, and looking around the other candidates, there was kind of a moment for Ron DeSantis because he had to look to Vivek before he made up his own opinion and raised his hand. At least that's what it seemed like. So I think for Vivek, for Chris Christie, for Nikki Haley, and for Mike Pence that were very confident on the stage, I think that they really delivered here and really showed that that they're not afraid to really say their opinions and go after the other candidates.
And Kelly, I want to ask you about this one here, because Vivek tried to make foreign policy a big issue in the debate, and he questioned America's support for Ukraine. Have a look at this.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine?
I would not. And I think that this is disastrous, that we are protecting against an invasion across somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States of America.
Kelly Jane Torrance, I want to ask you about this because you've spent time recently in Ukraine. Do you think there is a market for this sort of isolationism in the GOP, or is he totally pulling the wrong rein here?
It's a good question, James. And unfortunately, there are some people in the Republican Party who feel the way he does, but I don't think they are the majority at all. And I certainly got a sense in the debate room that the people in that room also were not on his team in terms of Ukraine aid. Yeah, I was just there last month and, saw in action what U.S. aid and aid from, other countries all over the world is doing. And come on, the United States can walk and chew gum at the same time. Don't tell me that if President Biden wasn't sending, and Congress, of course, sending money to Ukraine, that suddenly President Biden would close the southern border and we'd have a solution to the migrant crisis. That's just not true. And he knows it. That's not why the border is not closed. It's not because we're sending aid to Ukraine. It's ridiculous. And I have to say, I've worked with Vivek and I like him quite a bit, but on foreign policy, I really disagree with him. And I think he may be a bit out of his depth here. And I think Nikki Haley kind of showed that when she had her clashes with him on Ukraine. But, it's dangerous. It's the Republican Party used to sort of understand what America's place in the world is and should be. And we're seeing, a few candidates on that stage. Ron DeSantis a little bit wimpy on Ukraine as well, who don't. And so certainly it's not something I would like to see encouraged in the party going forward. So it's something to keep an eye on as the campaign progresses.
Yeah, look, I think it's pretty interesting, and we're going to see whether this winds up being one of those rare elections where foreign policy does actually play a big role. Could very well with all this going on in the world. But I want to move on to a story that I thought really lifted the lid, I think, to be cynical, on how politics works in America today. Elon Musk has revealed that his company SpaceX is being sued by the U.S. government. Why? Because he was too zealous in enforcing immigration laws and not hiring enough refugees. Now, Diana Glebova, is this the deep state having a whack at Elon for what he has done to Twitter? Or, X?
I don't know. I think it's a very interesting example, again, as you say, because it is the government going after a private company, Elon Musk, and there has been a lot of exchanges in the White House press briefing room with reporters posing many questions about Elon Musk, about what he's doing to Twitter, the platform now known as X, what he's doing in terms of having censorship, not having censorship, silencing different voices, not silencing different voices. I think it's not clear if this is a retaliation. I wouldn't say that to that extent, but we'll see what happens here.
But Kelly Jane Torrance, it does seem that when it comes to these sort of border issues, Texas tries to stop people from coming across the border. The Department of Justice sues them. Elon Musk tries to be zealous about who he's hiring and making sure he's only hiring citizens and green card holders. He gets sued. An awful lot of people are going to be cynical about the way the Justice Department is defending the borders here, aren't they?
Well, that's a great point, James. And, we had on the cover of the New York Post this week that in Arizona, Border Patrol has actually welded open some gates so people can just walk right in. It's incredible. And, when our reporters asked them about it, they told them, no, try this agency, that agency. And then finally, after many, many calls, they finally admitted, Border Patrol admitted, yeah, it's us. We did it. We welded those doors open. So, it's clear what this administration stands for, and that's open borders. And it's just incredible that they're actually suing states like Texas for doing the job that Border Patrol and the other federal agencies themselves won't do. And of course, here in New York, we've got a huge migrant crisis. And just today, Governor Kathy Hochul called on Biden to expedite work permits for migrants. There are still people in America who don't have jobs. The unemployment rate, of course, is not zero. And so, and of course, what's going to happen if President Biden does expedite these work permits? Well, more people are going to be encouraged to come because, hey, you get to America and you can get to work really quickly. So it's just, nobody actually wants to tackle what it's actually causing this problem. They just want to make it look like they are.